What's poppin', y'all? Welcome. Today is another episode of Grew Up Inside, you know what I'm saying? Episode number two, you know, and before I go any further, I just want to give a big thank you and a big shout out to everyone who viewed my last video, you know what I'm saying, which was the introduction to my story, part one. Every fifth day, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna upload the next part to my story, and you'll be able to tell that each one goes in order because they're gonna have a crown at the end of them. Little emoji of the crown. So that's how you know it's gonna be my next video to my story. You know what I'm saying? So before we go any further, just go ahead, hit that like, subscribe, and notification bell. You know what I'm saying? Thank you to the 3 subscribers I got now. Let's try to get it up to 10. And let's get this stuff popping, you know? So today, what I'm gonna speak on is kind of self-explanatory. In the title, as you can see, beatings and abuse, you know, which happens and occurs on a daily basis. You know what I'm saying? These kids are getting abused mentally, tore down like completely, to the point where sometimes these kids are attempting suicide, and sometimes they're even successful with suicides, you know. And just imagine that, you know, your son or your nephew or your little brother or your older brother, whatever, you know, is getting abused and tore down so bad mentally that he literally feels as though his only way out is to kill himself at the age of 16, 17 years old. You know, what is wrong with that picture? Something's not right there, you know? And these people that are supposed to be counselors, you know, and staff and supervisors, they're supposed to be there to implement reform or redemption or a change in thinking or something, but instead they're in there telling you how good they'd give it to your mother from the back while you watch, and how much of a piece of trash you are because if you weren't, your parents would have saved you, or someone would have saved you from being where you're at today, and how low and how scumful you are for go ahead and robbing that person's house or doing whatever it is that you did, you know. And these children, these kids, you know, I've met a lot of them that aren't bad people, you know. In the 7 years that I did, you know, which was juvenile life, you know, from the ages of 14 to 21, I was locked up, you know. And for those of you who are watching that don't know what juvenile life is, what juvenile life is when you are under the age of 18, you commit a crime, and in the state of Pennsylvania, by society, you're considered an adult when you turn 18. Okay, but in the eyes of the judicial system in Pennsylvania, I'm not sure about anywhere else, but in where I'm from, where I did my bid, Pennsylvania, you're considered an adult when you turn 21. You know what I'm saying? So you can stay in these juvenile facilities until the age of 21. You know, usually there's a facility that's very notorious, one of the only ones in Pennsylvania that has adults and juveniles. It's the name of it is Pine Grove. You know what I'm saying? That is very notorious for you know, beatings and abuse, rapes, booty bandits, stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Pine Grove was off the chain. Like, for those of you who don't know, and for those of you that do, Pine Grove is very notorious for being one of the most deadliest spots to land at, you know. And there's two sides. There's a juvenile side and there's an adult side, you know what I'm saying? And I was there in 2008, from January 2008 until the summer of 09. You know what I mean? The summer of 09. And then I was shipped somewhere else. But anyway, I'm getting a little bit off track. I've witnessed, you know, multiple, you know, beatings in one day, you know. In the 7 years that I did, you know, so much has happened, so many stories, and so many horrific and traumatic experiences that, like, my memory banks are full. you know, and this stuff is literally burned into my brain you know, I can close my eyes and vividly see different things that went on that I, one, witnessed, and two, actually was also a victim of, you know. One of the spots that I landed at, actually, there was a kid. His name was Hoon. He was an Asian kid. He was from Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, you know, and at the time, I want to say it was like 2006. The placement we were at was called NCSTU, you know, and that breaks down to North Central Secure Treatment Unit. You know what I mean? And by secure, I mean fucking secure. You know what I mean? Like 15-foot barbed wire wrapped fences. You know, the barbed wire was not only at the top of the fence, it was at the floor. You know, in the description, I'll actually put a link, and you guys can click the link and you'll be able to see for yourself what this place looked like. And I actually have a story about when me and my co-defendant attempted to escape from this place, which is actually like unheard of, because we're the only ones in history to ever try and escape from this place, and let me tell you, we almost made it. But yeah, so there's a kid. We were in North Central Secure Treatment Unit. It was like the summer of 2006. There was a kid in there, Asian kid. He used to get picked on a lot, you know, because he was like a mute. He could speak, he could talk, but he didn't. You know what I mean? He didn't really talk, and when he did, it was usually always some off-the-wall shit. He always caught me off guard. You know what I mean? Because we would never hear him speak, and then when he finally did speak, it would be something so outlandishly crazy that I'd kind of give him that look, like, "What the fuck you talking about, dude?" You know? Excuse me. And so, yeah, he used to get picked on a lot, and everyone, when they first get intaked into this facility, there's a mandatory haircut, you know, so that way no one can stand out with like braids and designs in their hair and fades. Like once a month, everyone gets a bald haircut, you know, and that's it. That's what it is, you know what I mean? You're gonna get a baldy, and if you don't, you're gonna be put on what they call isolation, or also MNV. You know, I forget what MNV stands for, but it's a disciplinary thing where you have to stay inside your room 24 hours a day, basically. You only get to come out one time a day for 15 minutes to get a shower. That's it. So, you know, or unless you have to use the bathroom. And like I said, this place where I was at was also like the other spot I told you guys about yesterday, where you had to flick the light on, and once they notice you, they tell you, call your name, tell you to go to the bathroom, you know? I'm sorry, excuse me. So, when he came in, he had long hair, you know? And he refused to get a haircut. You know what I mean? And most people, when they refuse to get a haircut, the staff members say, okay, well, you're just going to stay on isolation until you get your cut, you know? And then that's it. The guys stay in their room for 3 or 4 days, you know, and then they can't handle it no more. They get their haircut. But this guy, this kid Hoon, he wasn't breaking. You know, and the thing that was making them mad, when they would question him, when they would speak to him, he wasn't responding. He wasn't really responding like that. And when he did respond to him, it wasn't what they wanted to hear. You know what I mean? So, he actually stayed like that, dude. I'm telling you, for a good solid month. Like guaranteed. Like, he refused to get his shit cut. Like, he was not getting a cut. I don't know if it had something to do with his religion or whatever, if he just liked his long hair, but yeah, he was not trying to hear it for nothing. You know what I mean? And the first time I seen a staff member put hands on him, we were in the bathroom, you know, and I actually was on isolation at this time too. Me and Hoon, we were both on isolation. And when you're on isolation, you had to wear your PJs constantly. Like, you couldn't change out of your PJs. That was to make you stick out, you know. And everyone had pajamas. They were usually like lime green, lime orange, like neon pink or neon blue. Like, they were really bright weird colors, you know, and they were real thin, like almost like scrubs kind of, but not as thick as scrubs, you know. They were a lot thinner. They were almost see-through. So like when you wore your white boxers underneath your neon blue PJs, you could see your white boxers. And then also the guys that were like black guys, dark skin, you could see their skin. So if they were free ball, yeah, balls in the Johnson going on, and we ain't trying to see that. You know, but yeah, so I'm in the bathroom, you know what I mean, and Hoon's in there too, and they have him cleaning. I forget the name of the staff member that was in there, but he was a dick. Like, he was known for being a dick, and he had a bald head, and he had a couple scars on his forehead, and he was known for headbutting people in the mouth. You know, that's what he was known for. When you disrespected him and he was in your face, he'd grab you by your ears and bang! Hit you right in your face, you know? Headbutt you right in your teeth, you know? And a lot of time, guys that have buck teeth hit his shit and, you know, split him open. You know, but that's what he was known for. So we're in the bathroom, and I'm in the stall, and I'm sitting down, and I'm taking a shit. And in the stalls in the bathroom, they didn't have no doors on the stall. So, you know what I mean? You walk in the bathroom, and without even trying it, if someone's in there taking a shit, you're gonna see that man. You know, because when you walk into the bathroom, it's a square room, you know, it's a square room like this. So if I'm coming in where my thumbs are at, you know, right here on this wall, there was 1, 2, 3, 4 sinks, okay? And on the right wall, there was 1, 2 urinals, and then 1, 2 stalls, toilets with no door, and then after that, 1, 2 urinals. You know what I mean? So there's only 2 toilets for 16 or 17 people, I think, was on our wing. You know what I mean? So, you know, when you walk in there, you know, if you don't know someone's in there, or even if you do and you walk straight ahead, the bathroom is so small that from your peripheral vision, you can see this guy taking a shit. You know what I mean? So what a lot of guys would do is they would lay their towel across their waist. So I'm sitting there with my towel across my waist, you know what I mean, taking a shit. And the Hoon and the staff members over here to the left. You know, so if I look to the left, I can't see him because the wall's right there. But the mirror on the wall where the sink were, I could look into the mirror and see the reflection of them. You know what I mean? So the staff is standing there, and Hoon is standing there with the bucket of sanitizer or whatever in his hand, and like the scrubby for the toilet. You know what I mean? And he's standing there holding it, and dude's like, you know, scrub the urinal. And Hoon's standing there, he's like, no. He's like, yo, dude, scrub the urinal now. You know what I'm saying? And they went on like that for like a good couple seconds, like, you know what I mean, like a minute. I said a good minute. He asked him 3 or 4 times. You know what I mean? And then eventually he's like, listen, Hoon, this is a direct order. You know what I mean? Like, and after a direct order, if you don't do what they say, they're going to give you a ticket. And what a ticket is like a report, and they write your infraction on there, and then you go and see a guy. It's just like having like a little a court session, you know. They find you guilty or not guilty. You can have witnesses, someone to represent you, whatever. You know what I mean? So after they say to you, listen, this is a DO, or they'll say this is a direct order, and then they'll tell you what they want you to do. And if you refuse, you know what I'm saying, you're going to get written up for that, you know, and they could also put hands on you. So that's what they say. First we're going to ask you, then we're going to tell you, and then we're going to make you. So he says to him, he says, you know, this is a direct order, you know, scrub that fucking urinal now. And Hoon's like, no. So as soon as he said no, the staff member flew straight at him, and they were like a good 6 feet apart. Ran at him like very swiftly and grabbed him by the back of the scruff of his neck. You know what I mean? So he didn't just grab him by his neck, you know? He grabbed him by the scruff. So he grabbed his neck and then squeezed, so like the skin, he was holding on to the dude's skin, you know? And when he did that, he grabbed him like that, and he shoved his face down into the urinal and flushed it and said, now scrub this mother bleep urinal now. You know what I'm saying? And he held his face. He literally held this kid's face. And Hoon probably at the time, I'm going to say, if I was to guess, he was 15. He held this, grown man held a 15-year-old kid's face in a pissy urinal because he didn't want to scrub it. And because he didn't want to get a haircut. They had him doing chores and stuff because the kid didn't want his haircut. And then when he refused to clean a pissy toilet urinal that had piss all over the floor, that he didn't even make the mess, he refused. They shoved his face into a pissy urinal for that. You know what I mean? And when he did that, he held his head there for a good 30 seconds, you know? Until he looked up, and when he looked up, he seen me looking at him in the mirror, and he gave me that look, and I put my head down, you know what I mean? Like I didn't see shit, you know? And then after that, you know, he just drug Hoon out of the fucking bathroom by the scruff of his neck, drug him all the way back to his room, tossed him in there, and locked the door. You know what I mean? So just imagine that, a grown man, 30, let's just say 30-year-old man. You know what I mean? 200 pounds, shoving a 15-year-old, 100-pound soaking wet kid face into a urinal full of piss. A urinal full of piss because all he did was say no, that he didn't want to clean up the mess on the floor. There's no other way that you could go about that. You know, there's no other way you could diffuse that situation, but instead you go straight to violence, grab the man and shove his face in a pissy toilet. You know, and then when you see me, when you look up, see me looking at you, you look at me like you're gonna stab me in the face 16 times because you just got caught. You know what I mean? So if Hoon would have had the intelligence, you know, to write the grievance and something could have came of that, but I doubt it would have, because that's the thing. See, here's the thing. The director and everything like that, who was supposed to be the one to come and investigate, is the brother-in-law of the guy who shoved Hoon's face into the toilet. You know what I mean? And then the supervisor of that shift is the dude's wife. So that means it's brother and sister on the same shift. One's a staff counselor, one's a supervisor, and then the director on shift that night is her husband. So she probably blowing him in the office while all this is going on, and then when everything happens, you know, they just push the papers through to make it look like Hoon slipped and fell. Because when he grabbed him by his neck and shoved his face, he busted his lip. You know, he busted his lip open because his lip hit the edge of the urinal right there. You know how they're shaped like kind of round, they dip in like a horseshoe? His lip hit the thing and busted. His lip busted, you know? And this kid didn't do nothing. He wasn't showing no signs of force. You know, no type of threatening stance. He was standing there holding a bucket of sanitizer, a little bucket of sanitizer, and a freaking a toilet scrubber brush in his other hand. And all he did was say, no. You know what I mean? And they shoved his face. And you know, Hoon, you know, was there for a good, I'd say, 8-9 months with me. And, you know, I'm sad to say, and I give all my blessings to Hoon's family. You know, Hoon went through so much abuse that Hoon actually killed himself. You know what I mean? Hoon actually, he hung himself, you know? What happened was, we were going through what is called a freeze, and the reason why, and what a freeze is where it's basically like isolation, but for the whole entire building. You know what I mean? So everyone is on isolation. Everyone's doors are closed. You're locked in your room, and each person comes out one time a day for 15 minutes, and you don't come out on Saturday, Sunday for anything. You know, so 5 days a week, the only amount of time you're getting out of your room is 15 minutes, you know? So we were on a freeze, and the reason why we were on a freeze is because about a month prior to that, we had a riot, and a bunch of staff members were injured, and people were stabbed and cut, and there was a bunch of attempted escapes, and the whole place got overtaken by residents and inmates, and they had to call state police in, and that's going to be for another video, though. I'm going to do a video about the riot, and I'm gonna screenshot all the things in the newspaper, all the letter things in the newspaper, you know what I mean, to prove it. the dates and times and what happened and the testimonies and stuff like that. I'm gonna have some pictures on there. But there was actually a riot, and then like 40-some staff member got fired, and they put us on a freeze, and we were on a freeze for like 67 days or something like that, or 67 or 77. I can't really remember which. I'll have to go and look in my papers, because I actually have a calendar from that time, and I still have it today. I'm 30, you know, I was 15, 16 when that happened. You know, but there was a riot, and a bunch of staffs were injured really, really bad, and residents were injured. They brought the state police in and stuff like that, and they put us on a freeze because so many staff members got fired. The only thing they could do with us is lock us in our rooms, because they didn't have enough people, you know, to cover shifts and whatnot. So we were locked in. We were on this freeze, you know, and during this freeze, a lot of the staff members that got injured, like I said, they're all related. So, you know, the ones that weren't working that day, they came back to work, and they were getting revenge for all of their friends and sisters and cousins and husbands and mothers or whoever it is, because they're all a bunch of incest, backwood, hillbilly, dipped in the lip ass mother, you know what, sons of you know what, you know. They were abusing Hoon during this freeze. And during the freeze, like I said, you're in your room 24 hours a day minus 15 minutes. So you're in your room for 23 hours and 45 minutes at a shot every single day, 5 days a week. And then on Saturday and Sunday, you're in there for 48 hours straight before you come out for your 15 minutes for your shower. You know, and during this time, they were playing Knock the Resident Off the Mushroom, right? These staff members made a game, and we could hear them talking about it, you know. And the reason why it was called Knock the Resident Off the Mushroom is because in each person's room, there's a bench that is just a circular thing, and it's bolted to the floor. It looks like a mushroom. So people are in there, sitting there, not even expecting anything. They hear the door pop. It, next thing you know, it flies open, and 8 grown men come in and tackle you straight off of this stool and slam you on the floor, hit you with all types of elbows and knees and walkie-talkies across the head. And a lot of guys caught stitches behind it. A kid got his jaw broken. A few people had their teeth knocked out, broken noses. You know what I mean? Bruised up, swollen eyes, everything. So they were doing this to Hoon because, you know, Hoon, like I said, was one of those people that wouldn't really say anything. So 2-3 times a week, they're going in here and tackling this kid off of his stool, you know, and it drove him so insane, and it hurt him so bad that he tied a sheet around his neck, okay? And in everyone's room, we all had lockers, all right? And the locker was, I'd say, about 5, maybe 6 feet off the ground, high, you know? And it had a top with some shelves, and it had a bottom with some shelves and doors, you know? And Hoon, he tied his sheet around his neck, tied the other end around the top door of his locker, you know, like the top hinge. He knotted it around there, okay? And they were supposed to be doing checks on us every 15 minutes. Every person had a sheet of paper outside their door with little lines, and they were supposed to write on there with their initials every time they come around, which was supposed to happen every 15 minutes. Okay, but if they were doing it every 15 minutes, Hoon would be alive today, you know. So Hoon tied a rope around his neck and around the hinge of the locker, and he backed his back up against the wall. He stood there, put some tension on his neck, and lifted his knees up to his chest and hugged his knees. He didn't even hang himself high enough for his feet to dangle. He was in so much pain and went through so much trauma and was hurt so bad that he pulled himself into a cannonball position like this, and held himself up until he suffocated. And as a result of that, he died. What is going on with these people? How are they getting away with this? You know what I mean? And so what happened was he did this, okay? And the next morning, he hung there all night long. Someone's 15, 16, I think he was 16 at the time. His 16-year-old son hung themselves in one of the most horrific manners you could even think of, okay? And then after he died, he hung there for another 12 hours, 9 hours or something like that, until they even found him. So what they did is they popped everyone's doors in the morning. You hear it, boom, 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 right? And then you hear someone yell out, "Oh no, Hoon, what the hell, don't!" Okay? And they ran in there and tried to lift him up, and they did what they could to resuscitate him, but they couldn't bring him back. You know? Excuse me. Hoon died. Hoon died, you know? And you know, it just goes to show you that, like, you know, even though someone is a good kid, a good person, or anyone can fall victim to this unnecessary, cruel, and unusual punishment. You know what I mean? They traumatically impacted that kid's life so bad that he thought that his answer was death. You know, and who knows what he could have went on to be. You know, he was a really good artist, and I know from talking to him the little bit of times that I did, he was really into cars, you know, racing, Mitsubishi Eclipse, and Mitsubishi Eclipse was his favorite car. You know, and I ain't even gonna lie, like, there have been times when I would take part in, you know, picking on Hoon, you know, and now today I feel bad about it, because never would I have thought in a million years that I would have helped impact someone so badly to make them want to kill themselves in such a horrific manner that, you know, it's like, wow, you know. He didn't just hang himself, he forcefully hung himself, you know. He had to hold his feet off the ground in order to suffocate himself, you know. And my blessings, like I said, go out to his family and go out to Hoon. You know, rest in peace. You know, Hoon, I'll never forget you. You know what I mean? But yeah, I just wanted to come on here and chop it up with y'all a little bit. And speak about the beatings and abuse that goes on, and about a time when it actually resulted in someone literally dying and killing themselves, you know. He shouldn't have died that young, you know what I mean? But because of the way that he was treated and how they were beating him up mentally and physically so much, you know, he thought that was his only way out. You know what I mean? And stuff like that still happening today, you know. Sometimes it's by suicide, and sometimes it's at the hands of these staff members. They just go a little bit too far. You know what I mean? So, yeah, man. Like I said, man, I appreciate everybody that tuned in to the last video. You know what I mean? I see I've been on here for a little minute, so I hope y'all enjoy this video. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead, smash that like, subscribe, and notification bell. And stay tuned, man. I'm going to be on here again tomorrow with another really cool story. You know, just stay blessed, stay up, and keep showing your boy love, man. I'm just going to get better every time I come on here. You know what I'm saying? So, till next time, salute.